Hey, what's up, guys? I totally forgot. Ed is on vacation tonight, so I'm filling in for him. So, in homage to Ed, I did a little musical intro there. So, and Ed, if you're watching this, that one went out to you, buddy. So today is Tuesday. It is July 26th. The Student Loan Justice.org live stream. Welcome, if you're new to the group. What took you so long? Tell everyone you know about this group. We are pretty much it. We've been around for 17 years now. We're fighting for two things: the return of bankruptcy protections to all federal student loans. In fact, all student loans. Bankruptcy, whether you would ever or never file, remains at the core of this problem. We're also fighting more recently for the past 2.5 or actually 3 years for the cancellation of all federally owned student loans by executive order. We kind of started that whole thing in the public conversation with a Vice News article in July 2019, and then our petition that we started in March 2020, which I'm very happy to say is now at 1.13 million signatures. So tonight, it's going to be kind of a free-form night. Couple of announcements. I hate to lead with this, but we do need donations, guys. We need 34 people to donate $20 or more, and you can go to, oh, here it is right here. You can go there, studentloanjustice.donate. We are going to be fundraising frantically through the first week in October, and so please just help. It's going to be a real pain in the ass. But we've got to do it because our email list is just grown so hugely. So please help with that if you can. Also, get a shirt or get a hat. See the hat? Get a hat. Also, I don't have a shirt, but we've got great shirts also. Get a hat or get a shirt. Okay, just please help. I hate fundraising. I'm no good at it. So please do that. So tonight, I'm calling this a free-form Tuesday. If you have any questions or comments, you're watching us on, and I'm going to keep it short tonight too, because as I said, I'm just filling in for Ed. So if you have any questions or comments, you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, I will very happily respond to them if I can see them. So our bill, S-2598, is in a perfect position to be passed by Congress. It's bipartisan. It returns bankruptcy protections to federal student loans that are more than 10 years old. It's a very good bill. It doesn't cover private student loans. I can't say it's a perfect bill, but it is a very good bill that actually does solve this problem. The most important policy point I'm going to make tonight, guys, is we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation from Joe Biden unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us. That is the most important thing. So whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important. What's important is that we have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. So we have got to fight for S-2598. The most important action item I have for any of you, if you forget everything I say tonight, remember this. Go to our website and do at least a month worth of our daily actions, which you, oh, darn it. Here it is right here. Do at least a month worth of our Do at least a month worth of our daily actions right there. Do that. It will be helpful. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, what can I do? Well, you can do that. You can do daily actions. You need to get a Twitter account. By the way, like us on Twitter or follow us on Twitter. It's Student Loan Justice #1. We've been doing this for 17 years, guys. We know the path forward to get these loans actually gone, and that starts with returning bankruptcy to these loans. This week is critically important. It is the last week before the congressional recess in August. I looked at the calendar, and I didn't count exactly, but it looked to me like there was like 10 or 11, maybe 12 or 13 at the most days that Congress is actually going to be in session between now and the election. So time is getting short, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got to get off our ass. And we will be buried by all this swamp bullshit if we allow ourselves to. And we can't let that happen. We've been doing this for too long, and we've come too far, and we are too close now. So if you were ever going to get off your ass, and many people are, And I salute everybody who is. But if you were ever going to get off your ass and actually help us to solve this problem, which is your problem, make no mistake, these next 2 months would absolutely be it. So you know, we are a fiercely nonpartisan group. And this is something maybe I want to get into a little bit tonight. We've been doing this for 17 years. We've been screwed by the Democrats. We've been screwed by the Republicans. It's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. The Democrats claim to be on our side, but when push comes to shove and things get important, the Democrats fade into the ether. The Republicans don't claim to be on our side. They like to wag their fingers at us, and they like to make our lives hard. And so, which is worse? I don't know. I think it's in the eye of the beholder. But we don't like either part. We don't trust any politicians. We don't trust any parties further than we can bowl them. And so whatever your political stripes may be, you are very welcome in this group. But I will say that whatever party you are adorned to, if you are adorned to any parties, I guarantee you we will say terrible things about them and their people from time to time. Usually we say more bad things about Republicans and Democrats, but we have very terrible things to say about many Democrats as well. So if you're offended easily, maybe this isn't the group for you. We point the finger where the finger needs to point. We tell the truth about the battle for student loan justice and who is standing in our way, who's doing bad things, who's saying bad things, who's not doing good things, not saying good things, or not saying anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost what they don't do, which is as important as what they do type of thing. So we point all that stuff out, and we don't care about parties. We don't care about any of that stuff. We point the finger where the finger needs to point. And you know, lately I've noticed on Twitter and elsewhere, we're getting a lot of blowback from Democrats, these sort of blue no matter who Democrats, and they're like, well, yeah, but if we let the Republicans win in November, then you know they're going to be terrible, and they're going to try and pass laws that are even worse and take away the president's power to cancel loans and etc. And I don't necessarily disagree with any of that, but we're not doing that, ladies and gentlemen. We're not saying, oh, vote for the Democrats because the Republicans are terrible, but the Democrats betrayed us, ladies and gentlemen. And regardless of what I think or feel, we're not trying to push any partisan agenda on this group. The fact of the matter is, right now, as the current politics stand, Joe Biden has betrayed us. Joe Biden is the leader of the Democratic Party. And up to this point, he may as well have just shoved our noses in shit based on what he said before the election, the promises that he made, both on bankruptcy and on loan cancellation, and what we are now seeing. We're now almost at the end of Joe Biden's first congressional term as president. And yeah, on paper, they've canceled $26 billion in student loan debt, but in a typical 2-year period, around $200 billion are added to the federal student loan portfolio in interest alone. So Joe Biden, what he can point to is just nonsensical and insignificant. What we point to is what he said before the election, which is, I will eliminate your student loan debt if you earn less than $125,000 a year and went to public college. I am endorsing Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan, and he dutifully copied and pasted Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan. We're pointing to what his administration said, like multiple times, like 3 or 4 times over the past 16 months or however long it's been, that they would stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. That is what they said, and that is what we are holding them to. Now, if the Democrats choose to betray us, they will be slaughtered in November. And that has nothing to do with me. Frankly, it has very little to do with this group. And it has everything to do with 43.2 million federal student loan borrowers, probably 37 or 8 million who were distressed on their loans when they went to the polls in 2020. They heard those things. And if the Democrats choose to betray those people, the Democrats absolutely will be eviscerated in November. Now, don't shoot the messenger. If you're a diehard Democrat and the thought of having Republicans in power scares you, or you hate that, or whatever, don't talk to me about it. You're kind of preaching to the choir. I can't stand the Republicans either. The Republicans are evil. But the Democrats are essentially no better. It's, like I said, it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. And we're not doing it anymore, guys. We've been fucked around by this lending program too many times. And we will not be smooth talked, or whatever you want to call it, by the Democrats, who their only defense is pointing to the Republicans and saying, oh, look, they're worse. We're not doing that. And regardless of what we do, what we don't do as a group, we've got 1 million people in our group, that's true, and I'm sure they listen to us at least to some extent, but it has nothing to do with us, guys. It has everything to do with the Democrats and Joe Biden and them betraying us in a very bitter, cruel way. Joe Biden has the power to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order right now. He's already exercised that power. Donald Trump has exercised that power through the repayment pause and the extensions of the pause. This is not hard, guys. Legally, the law is very clear. And which brings me to my next point here. There's been an article cited in the media recently, a CNN article, talking about how recent Supreme Court rulings, don't bode well for student loan cancellation. May make it hard or difficult or not. The Supreme Court may overturn any executive order to cancel student loan debt. And I'm sorry, guys, but that's just bullshit. As I said, the law on this is clear. I didn't look at the environmental cases, the other cases, the Supreme Court rulings that they are pointing to, but I have looked very carefully at the Higher Education Act, and I would not have started the petition that we started in March. I would not have said what I said in July 2019 in Vice News had I not looked very carefully at the law, which gives the Secretary of Education, actually the Commissioner of Higher Education, if you look at the original code that goes back to 1958, I believe, it gives the Secretary of Education very broad, very clear authority to waive, compromise, release the federal interest in these loans. So that article that we saw on CNN, frankly, I'm kind of sorry that I posted it, because it's more of a distraction than anything else. And the cruel irony is that I'm sure the people who seeded that little story in the media are the deep state, or the unelected bureaucrats, the swamp, the administrative state, are the people who love that article, because the last thing the Department of Education wants to do is cancel student loans. It is their cash cow. They love this predatory, weaponized lending scam. And history has shown, even when demanded by Congress or even told by a judge to cancel loans, they do it only as a very last resort. So it's a very cruel, clever, Machiavellian play here that we're seeing with the CNN article. And to me, I think it's hilarious. It doesn't change the fact that the lending system is in catastrophic failure, that almost nobody's paying on their loans, and almost nobody ever will. In my best estimation, if they were to turn the loan program back on, I don't even think that at this point, I don't even think 15% of the people would pay. So the lending system is done, guys. It's toast. It's failed. It's fried. It's, in my opinion, it's not too late. It's not too early to start talking about student loans in the past tense, because nobody's going to resume paying. Maybe 15%. What do you call that? It's done. It's done. And by the way, it's not your fault. We didn't wreck this lending system. This lending system tried to wreck us. So we're going to see the swamp seed stories like this, and all the, like the current CNN story. All that really does is give President Biden political cover to say, "Oh yeah, see, if I cancel loans, it might get overturned." And I just don't care. I don't care about any of that anymore, guys. I don't, in many ways, I almost don't care what Joe Biden does, what Joe Biden doesn't do at this point, because the lending system is done. It's going away. There's no bringing it back, and that is just a fact. Now, the one thing I do know is that Joe Biden never wanted to cancel loans. And that is the same today as it was yesterday. This article is just one more little swamp dagger on the heap of swamp daggers that they're throwing out. This one is maybe a new wrinkle, but it's only betrays their desperation. And the one thing that I know very strongly, ladies and gentlemen, is what I said at the top of this broadcast. And that is, when we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us, roughly as it exists for all other loans, which will happen when S2598 passes, then Joe Biden's going to have to cancel loans. They're just going to have to. And there's no new law needed. Congress doesn't need to give additional approval or approbation or anything like that. It's all nonsense. The loans, it's a pretty direct path between getting the threat of bankruptcy back and seeing very widespread, broad, meaningful, deep, maybe even total loan cancellation. Although with Biden in office, he's only going to do it kicking and screaming, but he will only do it if he's forced to. And so it all comes back to bankruptcy, guys. Hey, I think I'm lagging on the comments. Let's see what we have. So let's see here. Joseph Mixon. Hey, Joseph says both suck big time. Makes it harder than it ever needed to be. Yeah, no doubt. Both parties. Like, when are we going to throw these two parties off of our backs? When is that going to happen? I don't know. Michael Jacobs says we've been fucked around. Pardon your French. Yeah, pardon my French. Pardon your French. I love French. Joseph Mixon says the only Dems I think would do what they say with student loans are Durbin, Sanders, and Warren. Other than those three, it's just talking points to get votes. I would make that list even a little smaller, Joseph. I would take Elizabeth Warren off that list, and I'm sorry to have to say that. Dick Durbin has always done what he said he's going to do. And knock on wood, Dick Durbin is the man of the hour for the Democrats right now. He is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. He is the sponsor of our bill, and he has all the votes that he needs right now to get that sucker out of committee and up to a full vote in the Senate tomorrow. So Chuck Schumer becomes important as well. But I'm telling you guys, that bill will pass the Senate with flying colors. So we've already got 2 Republicans signed on to the bill. I think in a full vote, I think it would probably pass by 65, 70, along partisan lines, but we would get a ton of Republicans voting for this bill. I should probably add, not only does this bill return bankruptcy protection to student loans, it also claws back a pretty small, but not insignificant amount of money back from the colleges. At least on paper, up to 50% of the original amount borrowed. It won't be anything like that for the 99% of the colleges. It'll be much less than that, but still, it's not nothing. It's a solid slap on the wrist. So the Republicans should be voting for this bill. And then, of course, there's the matter of getting it through the House. And we are pushing both House and Senate right now very hard, guys. Remember, do our daily actions. Do our daily actions. Do our daily actions. If you forget everything I say tonight. But I would take Elizabeth Warren off that list, Joseph, only because, we're thrilled that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer embraced the concept of canceling student loans by executive order. And 6 months after we started our petition, echoed our call and called on then President Trump to cancel student loans by executive order. But Elizabeth Warren is pretty suspicious, I have to say. She put this up to $50,000 cap on the loan cancellation. Those are weasel words. Those are politically tricky words. Up to could mean anything, and if the Department of Education has its way, after means testing and bureaucratization, it will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. So I don't know what kind of trick Warren's playing there. I'm also very unimpressed that the last time Elizabeth Warren was asked about S2598, she refused to say whether she endorsed the legislation or not. I thought that was just spooky. So something is not right with Elizabeth Warren, and I'm sorry to say that, because we have a very long history with Senator Warren, going back to a seminal 60 Minutes episode that we were both featured in May 2006. But I have to call it like I see it, and so I kind of agree with you. I think there's a lot of quiet congressmen out there, Joseph, that are fully on our side. We just don't really know about them. They're not so outspoken, but I think there's a ton of good people in Congress. And if well, I should say when, because we're all going to do the daily actions, right? We're all going to push our congressmen and our senators over the next 2 months. When this legislation comes up for a vote, I think it will pass both House and Senate with flying colors. But we've got to get that Senate bill out of committee. We've got to get that House bill drawn up and done. It's already drawn up, I know, but they've got to just pull the trigger on it. So what we do matters, guys. This group is where all that stuff started. We would not have a bankruptcy bill to fight for. We would not be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for the work that the people on this group have done, like the names I'm looking at right now. Doug Grostefan and the list is too long, but thousands, tens of thousands of people on this group who have been doing the daily work necessary to get this problem solved. You need to be helping us. You're not better than us, and we will fail if you don't help. And these are your loans, and this is your problem. Don't forget that. We are the pioneers. You cannot unhear that. So yeah, both suck big time, Joseph. I agree with you there. Thank you very much, Doug. And while I'm talking, you can be doing our daily actions. Like you can talk, walk, and chew gum at the same time, right? Joseph says the Supreme Court mentioned by name the major questions doctrine for the EPA crap, which in a nutshell states that Congress has to explicitly state that agencies have power over specific things, which is bullshit. I don't know if it's bullshit or not, Joseph. I think there's a very valid claim to be made that the administrative state is out of control. I think there's something to that. I'm no expert on environmental policy. I don't know much about that ruling, about that case at all. But I certainly understand that the deep state and the administrative state and unelected, unappointed bureaucrats, they are what brought us here today to where we sit now with the student loan program. It is the unelected bureaucrats who have been fighting us tooth and nail behind the scenes. These people are fucking vicious. And so I have a lot of empathy with sort of the spirit that the Supreme Court apparently has now taken on to sort of oppose the administrative state. But in the case of student loans and the power of the president to cancel these loans, Congress has already very explicitly and unambiguously granted the secretary the authority to waive, compromise, and release its interest in the loans. And they've been doing it for years, not only with the repayment pause, but with so-called offer and compromise, many other administrative tools that have been in place and have been used to waive, compromise, release student loan debt. And so, and even on the largest scales, we've already seen the President Trump, President Biden, exercise that authority in a very broad way. So, you can point to any Supreme Court ruling and say, ooh, that may have implications for the price of tea in China. You can always do that if you really squint and twist your head the right way and put on your funny glasses and do this. You can look at anything anyway and find reasons to say that the one is meaningful to the other. But guys, it's bullshit. The swamp is doing what the swamp has always done. The lending system is failed. It's in rigor mortis right now. And the longer they wait, the worse it's going to get. Frankly, I don't think the people in Washington, D.C. have the first clue about what to do. I know what the bad people want to do. And even the bad, okay, let's do that. So let's say the Democrats betray us. Don't do what they know they have to do, what they're committed to doing. Let's say they screw us. So the Republicans come in, and what do the Republicans do? Okay, first of all, they're not going to have a very commanding control of either House or Senate, and there's a president that, at least on paper, is supposed to veto anything that they might pass, which who knows if he will or not, because Biden is an absolute swamp creature. Let's say worst case scenario. Let's say the Republicans come in, they kill the public service loan forgiveness program, they kill the other forgiveness programs. They pass a law that says the president has no power to cancel the loans. Well, all that's going to do is make that 15% of people who were ever going to start repaying on their loans again, it's going to piss them off to the point of going down to like 5%. And at some point, everybody's going to look at each other and say, student loans don't exist anymore. They're a joke. Yeah, the people on TV may say this, people in Washington may say that, but you and your friends and your neighbors all know that the lending system is done. It's a large national joke. Nobody's paying. And if you pay, you're a fucking idiot, you're a fool, and shame on you, and you're unpatriotic. So I guess the point is, whatever happens or doesn't happen in Washington, D.C., this lending system is failed. And maybe having the so-called bad cops on the job, meaning the Republicans, and as I said, we're a nonpartisan group, we hate both parties, but maybe having the bad cops on the job for a couple years will only hasten its demise. The lending system is evaporating into a mist of illegitimacy, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, in my view, anything to make that happen faster is maybe better. So I can go either way. Like I said, we're good, whatever happens. And remember this also, guys. You know, when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, the Republicans had a narrow control of both House and Senate. And if they were going to fuck us then they would have done it. If they could have, they would have done it then. They kind of did. They tried to. The president's budget was terrible, but you know, was it really that much worse than it was prior to that? Not really. You know, this whole thing is one big charade, ladies and gentlemen. The whole thing is the swamp trying to perpetuate an indefensible, weaponized, unconstitutional, and now, quite frankly, thanks to the pandemic, catastrophically failed loan scam on the citizens. And the more they fuck us around, pardon my French, the more people are waking up to this fact. And I hope you've waken up, you sitting there. So the lending system is done, guys, and in my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dime back on their federal student loans. Don't feed the beast. This beast needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. It's a very conservative thing I just said, by the way. But I guess because I'm gonna end it here in the next few minutes. The final overarching, encapsulating thing I will say is that, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to fight the battle, and the battle means getting bankruptcy back first. If we want to see a quick, clean death to this lending system, it starts with S2598. A world of good things opens up for us after that point. Until that happens, we're going to continue to be baffled, bamboozled, fucked around, pardon my French, distracted, demoralized, and basically hit across the face with a wet glove or something like that by the bad guys who are doing everything they can possibly do and nothing less than trying to keep this failed lending scam going. So if you're sick of the abuse, if you're sick of the irritation of waking up and getting slapped across the face by the swamp creatures at Forbes magazine every day like I am, and I would hope that people aren't living and breathing this issue like I am, but even normal people who, I think even the run-of-the-mill people in our groups, they can't help but see those fucking Forbes swamp creatures and their little stupid little headlines. If you're tired of that like I am, then you will not pay attention to that bullshit, and you will help us fight. We've been charting this path for many years, guys. We know what to do, and it starts with our daily actions. What is that, about the seventh effing time I've said that tonight? So the only thing we're missing, guys, is you. We've got over 1 million people on our group, but on any given day, only a couple thousand people are doing the daily actions, I can tell you. If even 10% of the people on this group were doing our daily actions, that would be 100,000 people a day. That would be enough to close down every congressional switchboard in Washington, D.C. every day. It would be enough to overwhelm every Twitter account that we target every day. That would win us this battle, ladies and gentlemen. That would garner us national news. Maybe not on a daily basis, but that would get some headlines. And by the way, maybe I should say we're no stranger to the press. We've been featured on Fox News and on NPR, and just in the past 6 months, all kinds of stuff. Newsweek, The Guardian, I can't even name all the stuff, just you name it, a ton of local stuff, many national news stories, including the New York Times and the Boston Globe, and you name everything. We know how to work with the media, and we're very happy to. You can very easily, not easily, but we stand at the ready to be interviewed by any and all media. In fact, the more conservative, the better. We love going into the lion's den. If you can set up an interview for us, we will very happily knock them down. And by the way, we have people in your area, in every major media market, who are very willing to be interviewed and put a very human face on this problem. This is a very human problem, ladies and gentlemen. There are lives that are being crushed out there. And we've got compelling stories everywhere that every local news station, we'd be very happy to introduce them to. So we stand at the ready, guys, but it kind of starts with you. You've got to help this stuff go. One more, a little down in the weeds. Not down in the weeds, this is important, but I think I'm going to wrap it up after this, guys, because brevity is good. I'm just filling in for Ed. So there's Joseph Mixon says, and this might be a fun argument to have in greater detail at some point. There's a valid claim to not let the agencies to run wild. However, they need some power to do their jobs in an efficient manner. Oversight on them 100% needed, but to say Congress can only tell them what they can regulate with EPA, try to regulate some environmental thing, then get turned like that because Congress didn't state. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you can read Joseph's comment if you're watching us on Facebook. Yeah, you know, who's to say? It's kind of maybe a balancing act, but I do know this, and what I know is what I just said, that may be true for the EPA. I don't know that case. I think there's a lot of cases of administrative overreach. But the administrative overreach with the student loan program has gone against us. You know, the cruel, most Machiavellian thing about this whole CNN story is that I guarantee you it was people in and around the Department of Education that seeded that story in the media, because the last thing the Department of Education wants to do is cancel student loans. And so they're trying to frame they're trying to tie the anti-administrative state stuff, which many people think is good, and I think there may be something to that, tie that to the president's power to cancel student loans. So this is clever shit being thrown at us from the swamp. And I can only hope that people are seeing what actually is going on here, guys. As I said, the law is clear. I'm not going to repeat myself, but go back 10 minutes to see what I said. I don't want to repeat myself. Joseph said, actions done and donated. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you very much. Please donate. Doug Grossman says, my Senator Mike Braun is one who is swimming in the swamp, but keep trying. Doug, I'm telling you, the senators who are opposing us the strongest are from states that are being wrecked the worst by federal student loans. I'm talking about states like Indiana, where you're from, Mike Braun, like North Carolina with Richard Burr, Virginia Fox, and Ted Budd, just terrible people. South Carolina, South Carolina with was it Tim Scott, senator down there, terrible guy. It's really funny, but the worst hit states are the states from which the fiercest defenders of this big government lending scam come from. It's disgusting. And all of those people need to be exposed for their just blatant hypocrisy. Like Mike Braun, the people of Indiana owe more in student loan debt than the entire state budget of Indiana. I think the state budget of Indiana, if memory serves, like $26 billion. I think the people of Indiana owe something like $35 billion in mostly federal student loan debt. So why is Mike Braun, who calls himself a conservative, fighting for the colleges this is the college's cash cow. Why is he fighting for them? Why is he fighting for the federal government who is running this parasitic, predatory, unconstitutional lending scam? If Hoosiers knew what Mike Brown was actually doing to them, if you could be hung for hypocrisy, there would be a whole bunch of Republicans swinging from trees right now. Don't take that the wrong way, but that's just true. Todd Young is a waste. Yeah, I agree. Okay, guys, I think the comments are kind of getting beyond me, guys. I can't do it. But I hope you're pleased with how far we've gotten. I hope that you're on fire to join us, not just eat or sit on the sidelines and eat popcorn and cheerlead, because that's bullshit. We need you getting your knuckles dirty with us here in the trenches. It's a fun, cathartic fight to be fighting. I wouldn't have been doing it for 17 years if it wasn't fun. We win every battle. We do. We win every battle. We win every argument. But we've got to show up to the fight. So I will be back tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday, too. I'm going to be doing this all week because Ed, as I said, is in Maine. So I could maybe play you out, but I can't really. No, I can't really do that. So the musical intro will have to suffice. Ed, hope everything's going well out there where you are in an undisclosed location. I will see you guys tomorrow, guys. Let's hit it hard tonight. Let's hit it even harder tomorrow. And tell everyone you know with student loans about this group right here. We are ground zero. We are the pioneers, and you cannot unhear that. You have no idea how important you are. So let's hit it hard. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed, everyone.